how much fun this is going to be to have you up here speaking. You don't have a Bloody Mary in you yet because apparently someone argued that we can't have the Bloody Mary bar yet. So you're one of the last few presentations between me and a beverage. So I don't want any pressure on you, John, but educate us, please.
Will do. No applause? How's everybody doing? Pretty good day so far? Nobody connected to the Wi-Fi, right? Just kidding. My name is John Harmon. I work with FR Secure. We're going to talk today about social engineering. Anybody want to venture a definition of social engineering? It's a trick question. Hi.
Tricking people.
Tricking people. Hacking people. That's what we're talking about, right? Let me say something before I get started, because every time I give this presentation, everybody gets scared to death that they're going to get breached and they're going to get hacked and everything else. And I'm going to tell you, even though you hear it on the news almost every minute, the likelihood that you're going to experience a security breach is very, 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 very slim. Statistically, it's just not even something that happens all that often. But if it does happen, it's a big impact, right? It's very impactful, so that's why we're talking about it. And I'm here to tell you that if it is going to happen, the highest likelihood that people are going to get in is going to be through social engineering, not through technical means. So that's why we're talking about this today. So the quick high level on FR Secure, we're an information security management company. We're based out of Waconia. We got about 25 people. We're information security experts. This kind of thing is really all that we do, and we are hired to socially engineer and email, phish, and do all that stuff to people. We do a lot with credit card security, work with small and middle-sized organizations. And really what we have, again, are about a dozen security experts on staff who really love to do this stuff. And that's a little note from our president and founder, and we'll talk about him later. I got some cool hacker stories for you guys. We're going to tell some of those. So the textbook definition of social engineering, the psychological manipulation of people into performing actions or divulging confidential information. Why do hackers use this tactic? Hackers are criminals, agreed? Criminals are lazy, agreed? It's the path of least resistance. The people that I work with, if they were going to make, with how technically skilled they are, if they were going to make you a technical target, if they were going to hack you by technical means, you would never know until they were gone. They're that good. But it would take them 20 hours and several thousands of dollars of technology and tools to be able to pull off something like that. Or they can just pick up the phone and talk somebody out of a password. Does that make sense? All right. Famous social engineers. Anybody seen Catch Me If You Can? Anybody seen that movie about Frank Abagnale? Anybody here ever met Frank Abagnale? He's kind of on the speaking circuit, right? Isn't he cool? He's awesome. Yeah. Charismatic, enigmatic. You could see how he was working back in the 60s. He was pretending to be an airline pilot to get flights places. He was doing a lot of check fraud and that kind of thing. And, with a little confidence and a smile gets you a long way. But that's a good movie. Kind of tells you how social engineers work. Why would I put Mark Zuckerberg up there as a famous social engineer? That's right. Mark Zuckerberg has you all utterly convinced to share every detail of your personal lives on the public internet. Whether he knows it or not, he has stood up the most effective tool for information gathering for social engineers and hackers. Anybody here not have a Facebook account? I'm still going to get you. Common methods of social engineering. Email phishing, by far, is the most common attack that we're seeing out there as security people. Other things are like telephone calls, right? Hey, I'm with Network Center. I'm just calling to update something on your computer. I need you to go to this website, give me a remote access, and then go take a coffee break. I'll be done in a few minutes. Works about half the time, I'm not kidding. And then in person, those are the cool hacker stories. This is like gaining physical access to a server room or, USB drops. You're dropping USB drives laced with stuff around your office, that kind of thing. But phishing, the type of phishing I'm talking about is not anybody ever got an email from the Nigerian prince? Right, remember that guy? He's gone, right? They're not doing that anymore because it doesn't work. What I'm talking about is spear phishing. People who are going after groups and subgroups of people because you work somewhere or you go to church somewhere or your kids go to school somewhere. They know something about you and are going after you as a particular group because the success rate is much higher because it's something you're familiar with, right? Doesn't make sense to phish you on, Google Apps if you're a Microsoft 365 shop, right? That's what we're talking about. So here's an example of one that we used. The names and names of banks and everything have been changed to protect the innocent. But this was a bank who was trying to evaluate if they should require their business clients to go with two-factor authentication instead of just a password to access their accounts. So they sent this email out to all their business accounts to seeing if they would click on this link and log in to a fake website with their actual credentials that would allow somebody else to access their bank information to be able to transfer money and that kind of thing. The success rate on this was about 75%. Google, incredibly easy to copy, to get people to give up credentials for Gmail or Google Drive or whatever it is. By the way, if I got in your personal email, what would I know about you? I know maybe where you bank, where you go to church, what credit cards you have, where your kids go to school, what social media you use. And would I probably know the password that you use for every one of those accounts because I got your email password, right? And I mean, the URL, the bar up there, is missing something. What's it missing? HTTPS, the little green bar with the lock, that kind of thing, right? This one we weren't even trying. We just put the IP address as the URL up there. Still worked, about half we got on that one. Anybody heard of Fazio Mechanical before the Target breach? What most people want to focus on with the Target breach is that it was very technical, and it was. From the time they got in the door, they were covering their tracks and escalating privileges and pivoting around in environments to where they found a gateway to Target system and pivoted around until they got to the credit card environment. But everyone forgets, it all started because one of their vendors got phished, right? And that's what most of these attacks are after. They're after just that foothold. Just, I need access into the system. Whether I actually carry out the attack or go do something with it, maybe they're selling the access. I mean, it's just a pretty low-tech way of getting in. We'll get back to this. These are the hacking stories that I got for you if we have time. Okay, quick time, real-time social engineering quiz. If I shared a website with you that, say, told you what restaurants within a 20-mile radius that had 4-star rating had a reservation in the next 2 hours, and for using my site, I'd give you 50% off your bill, would you sign up for it? Would you use a distinct username and password for that site, or would you use the same one you use for every other site? Would you tell me the truth in your security questions? This is usually where I get people going, son of a gun. Totally would do that, right? Because what could I do if I knew the answers to some of your security questions, where you were born, what school you went to, right? The same questions they use on every site. So if I knew that, I knew your email address, say, I could go reset your password on other sites, right? That's what it's about. By the way, where is all that information? Facebook. If you got an uncle, I know your mother's maiden name. Probably know where you live, probably know where you were born, where you went to high school, what your dog's name is, what your kids' names are, right? Should we call a timeout? Anybody want to go change this stuff real quick? Right? I'm not going to leave you hanging on this. Here's something that I do. I'm not going to tell you exactly how I do it because then you'll hack me. But instead of remembering false answers, because then I got to remember something and I'm not that smart. So instead of remembering false answers like a fake school or a fake town or something like that, I code my answers. I move the first and last letter of my answer up or down one in the alphabet. So I'm very originally from Dallas, Texas. When I answered Dallas, where were you born? Dallas, on a security question, I would spell it like E-A-L-L-A-T. Does that make sense? So you can do that. You can replace, I'd be cautious replacing certain letters with, their equivalent, symbol, like A for at, or 1 for an exclamation point. Everybody knows that. Like, find something in there that, instead of using an E, use, a star symbol or something that's not as common. This is my favorite thing in the world. Verizon put out a big study, it was a couple years ago, on cybersecurity. Anybody read it? Anybody look at it? All right. So there's a whole lot of great statistics that you can put up against each other. It talks about breach statistics in different industries and how the attacks and blah, blah, blah. My favorite one by far is that out of 100 people that would get a phishing email, 10 of them are going to recognize right away that it's total BS, that it's malicious and it's a phishing email. And 3 of those 10 are going to click on it anyway. Isn't that scary? We all know that person in our office too, don't we? Right? The person who clicks on everything, right? Every email that comes, so I got a UPS package, boom, right? Every time they're going to click So how can you reduce the risk? What's the first and last thing on my list? Security and awareness training. This is not a technology issue, right? I said this today, right? Can we all agree that people are our biggest security risk? Yes. Can we also all agree that you can't fix people with technology? Stop trying. Get people on board. Tell them what they need to know. How many technology professionals in the room right now? Right? Your average user doesn't know what you know. Things that are intuitive to you aren't intuitive to them. They don't know that these things can be hurting them, whether it's at work or at home, right? They need the conversation. You need to train them. You need to tell them what the tactics are, how to identify these things, what they can and can't do. And a pro tip, by the way, if you're going to put up like a campaign, like you're going to have a poster or something that you want to put some of this stuff on, don't put it in the break room next to the workers' comp and minimum wage posters, because if you put it there, I'm not even going to see it. It just blends in the background. Put it in the bathrooms. If you put something in the bathroom, I'll have it memorized by Tuesday. I'm not kidding. The second thing is have a clear policy for this. If somebody in your organization got a phishing email, would they know what to do with it? Are they supposed to delete it right away? Are they supposed to let your IT person know? Supposed to let their boss know? Are they supposed to delete it and then go into the delete file and delete it permanently? I say that because we get hired to do this a lot, and we have, on occasion, somebody who will re-forward the email company-wide and tell everybody not to click on it. But what did we learn? 3 of those 10 people are going to click on it anyway, right? So he just helped us propagate our attack. He just redid it for us. And now it's from a trusted source. It reached all those people that we couldn't reach, perhaps. But he didn't know. Nobody told him, like, hey, don't do that. Just forward it to me and then delete it. Don't click on anything, right? I'll get the word out and screenshots and whatever. There are technical things that you should have in place, things like email filters, web filters, antivirus, those things, those check-the-box kind of technology things. We don't sell those things at FR Secure, but Network Center can certainly help you identify where you might have holes that at least help you or give you a fighting chance from a technology to filter some of these things out or minimize the impact a little bit. Password policies. How many people have, a pretty complex or a pretty strong password policy at their company, right? How many people require that it change at least twice a year? Once a quarter? Once a month? Once a week? Good. All right. My advice to that, because I get asked a lot on passwords, if you have nothing, don't hit the gas all the way right away. Ease into it. If you're not requiring people to reset their passwords at least twice a year, start there. And then start adding complexity. Add a symbol or a capital letter or a number or something, and then make it quarterly. Kind of ease in over time, because what happens is you make it too hard too fast, and people feel like they have to write down passwords, and you've just negated your entire strategy. You get it? People will find a workaround every time. Oh, if I didn't mention it already, train people. John Mess, sitting right over here, is our Fargo representative at FR Secure. So if you have any questions or you want to talk to us after the fact, please let John know. He's a reasonably nice guy. You got some game, no? All right. Before we get into some hacker stories, any questions?
So the little sticky notes aren't recommended, is what you're telling me?
As long as they're not right on the printer. No, never do that. I honest to God, I called the product or merchandising manager at Office Depot, like at their corporate office, because they have two different brands of password books that they sell in their stores where people can keep their passwords. And it has a lock on the front, like a picture of a lock, and it says passwords, confidential or something. It's like, what are you doing?
Well, they changed our policy, so I had to go buy another dog so I could remember mine. But I think Angie's having another kid, so she can remember hers. But okay. All right, questions before he goes into stories, and there's some good ones. Come on, no questions? Oh, here we got one.
Really great content. In your experience, can you tell me what are the most common violations, the most common things you see with the customers that you work with? I can't believe we see this over and over and over again. Anything that come to mind?
Yeah, I think from a social engineering standpoint or just a security standpoint in general? Okay. I would say the biggest issue that we see is, I would say twofold. A lot of people are really concerned about the internet-facing security posture, right? Everybody wants the pen test. I want to see what you can find out about me or do from the internet. And I'm telling you, everybody's got a firewall. Everybody understands perimeter security. We'll find things like, oh, you open up a VPN tunnel and you forgot to close. You know, it's pretty minor stuff. What we see is from an internal network standpoint, you know, you have that hard outer shell, but then you have this GUI center. You don't patch things. Nobody updates Windows. You got 5-year-old versions of Flash and Adobe and Java on your computer, things that there are known exploits for. If I got in, I know exactly how to attack you because you have not patched any of your applications. Like that's a big issue. The other thing that I see is frankly a lack of just rules and governance and policy, a lack of training, specifically on social engineering and kind of people-centric attacks. Nobody's gone through it, nobody understands it, nobody knows if they're supposed to work on their personal stuff, you know, like financial advisors working from Caribou, you know, and they're connected to an open Wi-Fi and looking at client files, you know, that kind of stuff. They just don't know it's a risk. Good questions. Any other questions? Sir.
Another one, Lucas.
Given the fact of passwords and people having multiple passwords and getting away from the password blocks,
Yep.
you got old school people. What type of program or how do you recommend that they go about remembering things like KeyPass or?
Exactly. I was going to say password managers are becoming more common and more successful. KeyPass is free. There's been a little bit of crisis of confidence with password managers. And for those of you maybe not following here, there are programs by which you have like one really awesome, good long password that unlocks a bunch of other passwords that they kind of generate for you, and that you can just kind of right click and say, hey, I want this password on this site, so you can log in and you know, you can refresh them along with as you want them to change passwords. But I think it was LastPass who got breached. I think that was them, right? So there's been a crisis of confidence a little bit on which one do we use, and you know, we like KeyPass. It's free. It's pretty resilient, and like anything, it's how you use it. You know, if the password to the password manager is password, it's not very effective. But yeah, that's usually what we recommend. But you know, again, it's how you deploy it. It's how you train people on it, because if they don't know how to use it, or it's intimidating, or it's too cumbersome, they're just going to find a workaround, and that's usually writing them down.
Yeah, I just have a comment. So at KLJ, we're involved with a cybersecurity awareness campaign, just internally. And we're trying to find a way just to spread that information, share that knowledge, educate our end users that, you know, these things are out there, we have to be careful.
Yep.
One of the things that we found was everybody wants to know, well, how does this affect me, you know, corporately and personally? So our approach to that at KLJ was, you know, let's communicate this from a corporate perspective and also personal perspective, because there's kind of a little cross-reference there of intertwining with what I do at work and at home. So we've had really good feedback from our employees that, yeah, you know, this actually works. I mean, these things that we're applying here and communicating at work apply to my personal life as well, and it's been fantastic. So
Yeah.
just to, yeah.
No, that's absolutely right. And this does help people in their personal lives, right? Everybody should know this. My kids know more about passwords than probably any, you know, 12 and 15-year-old should, because we talk about it. You know, they know not to give their passwords out. They know to use different passwords, and they know how to manage them. And it's just, you kind of get it ingrained in people, and they understand that it's not worth the risk to do it the other way, to just have the same password or to write it down, and, you know, kind of what's at stake, so to speak.
Other questions? All right, give us some good stories. That's the best part
All
of
right,
this.
all right. So we got some options here. We had a healthcare call center manager that got phished. A technical support help desk got a call from Microsoft. The police helped us carry out an attack once, and we hacked a bowling team. Where should we start, do you think? We got a few minutes. The bowling team. The bowling team's great. So this is one of those things, and when we're asked to do, you know, social engineering attacks on this scale, sometimes they're very specific. Hey, we want you to get this information, and your tactics that you can do are limited and everything. This was kind of open. It was like, hey, we have a lot of sensitive areas inside of our building, and I bet you can't get in. And I think if you got in, you probably couldn't get into those areas, but you got a couple of weeks and figure it out, and good luck. So we figured out pretty quick that the way that this is going to get done is that we're going to have to impersonate somebody. Like, we're going to have to find somebody who already has access and either get their access or duplicate it somehow. But this is a pharmaceutical company. They got the 2 guards 24/7 at the front desk. They got the 1 in, 1 out exit. There's turnstiles, there's key card access, there's all that stuff. And, just how are you going to get in? Well, we figured out pretty quickly by doing some research and looking at social media that the IT team goes bowling on Thursday nights. So we followed them to the bowling alley. I'd go, just kind of take off your coat and put it on the chair and go get my shoes. Well, somebody left their badge on their coat. So we lifted the badge, went, kind of waved to the guards, keyed in, went to every executive office, every server room, every records room, everything. We could have walked out with any equipment that we wanted to. In about 40 minutes, we got into every door that we could find, went back to the bowling alley and returned the badge. So the next day, we were able to tell the company, like, hey, check this badge number, check the cameras. Between this time and this time, that was us. Now, is that a high-tech attack? No. We stole a badge. It's like cheating, right? But that's what works. That's what we did. The lesson there is that, even somebody as, on the IT team who was probably a part of implementing a key card system throughout the entire building wasn't following a policy that you never leave that badge out of your sight. It's in your wallet, you lock it in your glove box, something, right? That's the to-do off of that. What do you think next? Of course, the police. Anybody in the room affiliated with the Bloomington Police Department? Good. Okay, one day there's going to be somebody in the room, and they're going to tackle me for telling this story, but here we go. Evan Francine, who is our president and founder and kind of chief social engineer, has a screw loose, more than one probably. And this was a pretty simple objective. It was a company that was worried about information leakage. It was HIPAA related, and they just wanted, hey, how many ways can you check our kind of perimeter security, physically, technically, and just see if anything's out there that we need to be concerned about? Well, one of Evan's tactics to figure this out is to dumpster dive. So it's 2 o'clock in the morning, and Evan's, elbows deep in this dumpster and carrying out boxes of documents when the police show up. And, a very large, very armed, uniformed man walking in. He's like, get the hell out of there. Come over here. So busted, right? Evan's like, all right, he kind of gets out of the dumpster. Well, I got to call a time out here and tell you what an engagement letter is. When social engineers are on the job, they have a letter from the customer that tells whoever may need to know who this person is, what they're doing, why they're there, and has contact information. They call, don't take this guy to jail. He's supposed to be here. Just call me. I'll explain everything. Well, Evan, because he has a screw loose, carries 2 engagement letters. One's real and one's fake. The fake one dials back to our office. So now you're Evan. It's 2 o'clock in the morning. You have a very annoyed officer in front of you, and you have a decision to make. Do I give him the real one, or do I give him the fake one? Now, there's no giving him the fake one and then being like, it doesn't work out, and you're like, nah, just kidding, here's the real one. Like, you're going to jail, right? We'll sort it all out in the morning, but you kind of get thrown in the drunk tank, and, it's a bad night. So Evan, of course, gives him the fake one. And the guy's reading it through and takes out his phone and calls the office, and we're like, yeah, totally. He's, helping us check to see if there's anything we're throwing away that might be sensitive. In fact, just kind of jokingly, we're like, if you could help him get out of here a little faster, that'd be great. It's 2 o'clock in the morning, for heaven's sake. All right, cool. Hangs up the phone, starts carrying boxes of the van for us. You got time for one more, or does somebody have a question? One more. I'm going to go off script a little bit. We're going to tell about the time anybody remember NSP, the power company, right? Anyway, it's like XL Energy or something like that. This is a law firm, one of those towers downtown that hired us to see if we can just get into their core systems, right? They didn't give us a specific way of doing it. They were just like, I bet you can't get to our data. So Evan decides he's going to try some social engineering and dresses up like a power company worker, walks up to the front desk and says, hey, we're going floor to floor in this building and trying to run down this irregular node that's causing power spikes, and I need to get into your server room where the trunk comes in to make sure it's not going to fry anything. So the front desk, oh my gosh, okay, cool, goes and runs and gets the IT director. The IT director escorts us back into the server room, and Evan's like, I can't even believe I got this far. But he's over here like, got a screwdriver on something and run these little tests and just kind of like, oh, what do I do? Now I'm here. Well, the guy, IT people are busy, yes? This guy was busy. You say, you know what? My office is right across the hall. When you're done in here, come get me, I'll walk you out. It leaves Evan alone in the server room. So he plugs in a wireless access point into the server, gives them the thumbs up, gets walked out, and then goes in the lobby and just starts downloading everything. Now, what's the to-do there? Number one, if I showed up at your front door of your house and asked to get to the most sensitive place in your home, say like a child's room, would you let me in there? Where is all of the information that your company has? In the server room. Don't ever let anybody in there. There should be like 2 people who have access to that room, and you should know every time they go in and out, right? And you just leave some power worker in there alone. You know, so that's one. Number 2, if this is a building and there's a power problem, where's the building maintenance people, right? Who is this guy? Is he supposed to be here? You really work for NSP just because you have the hat and the shirt and the badge and a little clipboard? How about call NSP and see if this guy is legit, if he's supposed to be here, if he's authorized to do what he says he can do. It's not about being scared, it's just about that due diligence, right? Hey, this guy wants access to my server room, I'm gonna double check to make sure he is who he says he is. Cool? Any other questions?
John will be
Thank you
with
so
us at
much.
the social as well, and since they're giving away a basket of wine,
Yeah, we're
I was
gonna
not
love
allowed
those.
to sample them. So yes, thank you, John, very much.
Thank you.
All right, real short break. We're running a little bit behind, so real short break, and we've got Microsoft up next.